Part 48. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 471. Logically speaking, the two of them have always been incompatible. She's not this witch. She doesn't work well and has to come to senior brother Su. I really have no choice, so I brought her here. Mu Qingqian said angrily, but her voice was full of sweetness. Humph, you really want to come too? Not to be outdone, Tao Yaoyao hit back on the spot. If I hadn't brought you here, how could you have dared to come to Brother Suliang on your own? Which, do you still want to fight? Come here, Brother Suliang will make the decision for me, I'm not afraid of you. Seeing that the two were about to fight again, Suliang quickly stopped him and said, Okay, what are you two doing here? Of course I came to see senior brother Su, Brother Suliang, to replenish his energy. This time, both of them spoke in unison. Why do you come to me to replenish energy? By co-authoring it, I directly became a source of motivation? Do you need to post stickers to be motivated? Suliang felt a headache. But at this moment, Mu Qingqian directly held Suliang's head, propped up his toes, and kissed him. Ah! Tao Yaoyao was a little anxious. Violent woman, Brother Suliang is mine, please let go. But despite saying this, she didn't make any move. After a long time, waiting for the moment when Mu Qingqian lets go, Tao Yaoyao pushed her away and kissed her. This time, the time turned out to be much longer than Mu Qingqian's. But at this moment, okay, you two little guys, it's time to make way for me. Wan Qing's slightly domineering voice sounded. Immediately afterwards, then a force appeared out of thin air and threw Tao Yaoyao and Mu Qingqian far away. However, at this moment, Tao Yaoyao still didn't leave. The moment the power appeared, she was startled and subconsciously hugged Suliang's neck to resist the power. At the same time, the tooth bit down. Volume 1 # Chapter 441, Big Sister's True Identity. Well, Suliang was stunned. This really hurt. After both women were taken away, Suliang looked at the master who was smiling awkwardly at the side, and slurred his words, Master, why are you here too? While speaking, some spiritual blood foam was spat out. Hear this. Wan Qing, who was feeling embarrassed about her mistake before, immediately put her hands on her hips and said, Of course. Refueling, right. Suliang immediately interrupted Wan Qing, Master, why do you need this? Each one of them, do they really think they are the source of energy? That's great. I'm also very tired, okay. Wan Qing was confident, without the self-consciousness of a top expert at all. Repairing dragon veins is a very laborious task. Even I can't persist for long, you know. Okay, you have the final say. Suliang was helpless. He didn't understand the mystery of transcendence anyway. Since his master said he was tired, he must be really tired. Seeing Suliang like this, Wan Qing immediately became happy and got directly into Suliang's arms. Hey, you'd better be my good disciple. He hugged his master with his backhand. The beauty in his arms was fragrant, warm, and soft. Even just holding her feels good. My disciple is so good. Wan Qing's eyes narrowed. Immediately. But he also raised his head and kissed her. Moment. Suliang felt that a pure and incomparable true energy penetrated over and repaired his injured area. Just for a moment, the original wounds disappeared. After a long time. Only then did Wan Qing let go of her master, but she leaned on his shoulder again, smiling and feeling extremely happy. Her leisurely attitude made Suliang a little confused. Master, you have a mission, is it really okay to be so leisurely? What's not allowed? Wan Qing asked rhetorically. Anyway, She and Jingmeng had never thought about being leaders of the right path. Coming here this time was just for their respective purposes. And until now, Wan Qing's own strength has been recovered. Although she has not fought against the strong men from all walks of life, her goal can be regarded as achieved. Naturally, there is no need to worry. The two of them just sat there leisurely, laughing and chatting while being extremely intimate. The atmosphere is quite warm. After a long time, Wan Qing stood up and stretched, her perfect figure on full display. Okay, my good disciple has replenished his energy, and it's time to start, said. Wan Qing hummed a song and left slowly. Suliang didn't stand up until he saw his master walking away. After patting the dust on his body, he stood at the damaged part of the dragon vein and began to repair it. Now that my ladies have replenished their energy, it's time for me to take action. However, just like before, Suliang still felt that he was extremely relaxed and his speed was so fast that even his master couldn't match it. It was as if the entire dragon vein was catering to him. This feeling was so weird that Suliang was confused. And as his repair process accelerated, he could vaguely feel that the entire dragon vein seemed to have awakened and was resonating with Suliang in some way. Until a certain moment, the dragon's veins glowed brightly and vibrated inexplicably. A mysterious aura appeared and wrapped around Suliang's body. At this time, Suliang had a feeling in his heart. It seemed that he had been recognized by Dragon Vein. What's happening here? Actually, how did Suliang know that his ability to do this was actually related to Ying Keoj? The previous Ying Keoj was blessed with thousands of years of luck. Even though it was stripped away later, there was still not a lot of luck and true dragon energy left in her body. And Suliang, in the process of dual cultivation with Ying Keoj, also obtained part of the destiny and the spirit of the true dragon from her. This is the fundamental reason why Suliang can resonate with Dragon Vein and be recognized by Dragon Vein. And the reason why Qin Binjao and others replenished their energy with him became easier after that. It was also because he was contaminated with some destiny and true dragon energy. For Suliang, this can be said to be a great opportunity. Unknowingly, because he was recognized and resonated with the dragon vein, Suliang repaired the dragon vein easily. Even his contribution, on the contrary, crushed everyone. Even the Taoist masters of various sects and peerless experts could not compare with Suliang. After being busy for a long time, everyone finally repaired the dragon veins completely. Breaking away from the dragon veins, everyone gathered together again. Look at each other. Everyone saw the tired look on the other party's body. After all, the matter of dragon veins is mysterious and mysterious. It is lucky to have a way to repair it, and it is indeed a bit laborious. Certainly, this kind of weakness and fatigue can be recovered by taking a little rest. And this time, in front of everyone, the old man who was the host before did not appear. Instead, there was a woman of unparalleled beauty. The woman wears a green silk shawl and has a delicate and beautiful face, but with a hint of indifference and stiffness. The peak is proud, crushing everyone present except Wan Qing. Under the slender waist, the beautiful legs are plump and plump. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 472. Unparalleled elegance, nothing more than that. And the moment I saw this person, Suliang's eyes widened immediately. Isn't this the big sister who taught me before? At this time, the eldest sister just spoke calmly and revealed the truth. I am the Holy Lord of the Holy Land. Wow! One sentence made the crowd roar. It was actually the transcendent Holy Lord of the Holy Land who came forward in person. This is too much emphasis on them. Suliang, on the other hand, was completely shocked. The elder sister who has been teaching me how to practice, saying that wounds that have been licked will heal faster, using chest tightness as a reward, and inviting me to take a bath and wipe my body, turned out to be the Holy Master? This feeling is so strange. Everyone performed very well, and the results are being verified. The Holy Master said indifferently, "Please go back and wait for the results." Say it. The Holy Master glanced at Suliang, and his intention was very clear that he wanted Suliang to stay and wait for her. Wait until everyone has dispersed. The Holy Lord came to Suliang and looked at Suliang's dull expression. "Why, isn't the news that I am the Holy Lord shocking enough? Your reaction is a bit normal. Hear this." Suliang shook his head and smiled bitterly, and couldn't help complaining, "It's so shocking that I forgot how to react." The Holy Master nodded, and then praised, "This is a kind of calmness. You are in a good state of mind, you should be rewarded," said. He hugged Suliang on his own, and then pressed him on his proud peak. Until the moment when I was swallowed up by the soft and elastic milky fragrance. Instead, a strange idea appeared in Suliang's mind. Should I say that the Holy Lord deserves to be the Holy Lord? Even though his identity has been revealed, he still interacts with him in the same way as before. I don't know whether I should be happy or have a headache. After the two separated, Suliang became even more curious about something, and couldn't help but ask, "I'm just a little person, but the Holy Master deliberately guided me. For what purpose?" "Repay the favor." The Lord's words are concise and concise, right down to the original meaning. This answer was even more incredible to Suliang. "I am just a little person, how can I be kind to the Holy Lord?" However, in his mind, the images of Feng Xiu, king of humans, and little Loli flashed by. At this moment, when Suliang heard the answer, he vaguely guessed the reason. After chatting with the Holy Master for a while, Suliang directly followed his wives back to his temporary residence. There are indeed many people participating in the final selection this time, and each person's contribution is different. Naturally, someone needs to go to the demon-suppressing dragon vein and confirm one by one before the final result can be obtained. Although this time is not long, it cannot end immediately. Therefore, everyone had to wait for a while. Sitting in the yard, Suliang thought seriously. This time, he seems to have been recognized by the demon-suppressing dragon vein. Not to mention anything else, at least the speed of repairing dragon veins is much faster, even faster than Master and Jing Meng. It should give Master some more chances to win, right? Only, Suliang felt a little strange when he thought that his master had become the leader of the righteous path. "I always feel that the right path is about to end." Forget it, it's not something you can decide anyway. So, Suliang felt that he had better wait for the result. But right now, boom! Waves of roaring sound suddenly erupted, followed immediately by waves of shocking fluctuations. Suliang immediately recognized it. This was the wave of battle. Moreover, it is not just a one-man battle. Only, who on earth dares to fight in the holy realm of righteousness at this moment? You must know that in that holy land, the elders, the supreme elders, and even the Holy Lord are all the masters in the world. If fighting here alarms these people, they will probably be suppressed in an instant, right? Even the devil would not dare to do this, right? At this moment, all the girls in the room also sensed the fluctuations of the battle and came out. "Meng, come with me to have a look." Wan Qing frowned slightly, her face a little unhappy. "I seem to sense the aura of an evil spirit." "Evil?" Suliang raised his eyebrows, a little surprised. "Abyss." Wan Qing just said two words, and then she and Jing Meng flew up and headed to the location around the sanctuary. And immediately, Qin Benjiao and others also came forward, frowning and asked, "Suliang, what should we do?" After thinking for a while, Suliang said, "Let's go and see together." Say it. Everyone also flew forward, and several streams of light flashed across the sky. Soon, they arrived around the sanctuary. However, as soon as they arrived, Suliang and others all frowned. They suddenly found out. The people fighting are all righteous people. Countless strong men are fighting non-stop, and many of them even have strength beyond transcendence. There are even many people from the younger generation who are also mixed in and fighting with their peers. For a while, it turned out that Suliang and others couldn't tell who was the enemy and who was the friend. Looking at this situation, civil strife suddenly broke out among the righteous people. Suliang stood outside the battlefield and suddenly said, "Look for those who are ruthless and determined. They must be enemies." Chaos suddenly broke out here. If someone hadn't planned it in advance, others would definitely be in panic. Facing their former comrades, they wouldn't be very decisive and ruthless. Suliang's method is quite effective. Hear this. All the girls rushed into the crowd, each looked for their opponent, and started fighting. And this time, Suliang also flew into the battlefield and landed in the battlefield of the younger generation. No way. Although Suliang was strong, there was no way he could compete with the older generation of immortals. But for people of the same age, Suliang's cultivation and strength can be said to be invincible. Just at the moment Suliang entered, then countless attacks rushed towards Suliang. Their numbers were so large and the combined power was so strong that even Suliang would be seriously injured immediately if he was hit. However, how could Suliang be hit by such an attack? Break! Suliang shouted softly, slashed forward with his long sword, and a sword energy came out vertically and horizontally. In an instant, all the corresponding moves were destroyed. Immediately, the long sword was put back into the scabbard. Suliang pondered for a moment, then suddenly drew the sword, one sword, no regrets. Base. The sword's intention soared into the sky, tearing apart the heavy clouds. The sword's energy was fierce and fierce. With the sword coming out without any regrets, he charged straight at the enemy in front of him with an indomitable momentum. Just a moment. A dozen people fell to Suliang's sword. And this scene. The onlookers around him were all frightened. For a moment, let alone taking action, they even lost the courage to step forward and confront him. Who else dares to fight with me? Suliang pointed his long sword forward, his expression indifferent and calm. There was silence for a moment. Suddenly, a man came out from the crowd, and with a rounded sword in his hand, he slashed towards Suliang, death. And to this, Suliang simply slashed out with a single sword. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 473. The man was like a kite that had lost its string, spitting blood from his mouth, and flew back, never to be seen again. Suliang at this time. He is really invincible among his peers. At this moment, no one dares to come forward to fight Suliang again. And this time, but a figure suddenly appeared behind Suliang. It's you. Suliang immediately frowned, as if facing a formidable enemy. The person who came was a beautiful lady. If you look closely at her face, you will see that she is the charming Zai. Did you do all this? Suliang and Zai were facing each other, looking confusedly from left to right, and asked in a deep voice. We have no interest in doing this kind of thing. Zai smiled charmingly and said in a soft voice, actually, the chaos here is just a way to attract your attention. What's the meaning? Suliang raised his eyebrows, seeming to realize something. Oh, looking at your confused look, Yinghuo, will kindly tell you the information this time. Zai said, pointing her jade finger at the candidate of the righteous leader who was fighting hard on the side. Sometimes, the person who seems to have contributed the most is actually a traitor. But Suliang was silent for a moment, and rationally told him that Yinghuo was also his enemy, and he should not believe the words of Yinghuo's people. But Volume 1 Chapter 442, Abyss Family, Dragon Veins Damaged. At this moment, Suliang just trusted him. After thinking about it, Suliang asked again, he is already a candidate for the leader of the righteous path, why would he do such a thing? Who is the one who planned all this? Do you think that after participating in the election for the leader of the righteous path, you really want to become the leader of the righteous path? Zimei smiled disdainfully, as everyone knows, the so-called leader of the righteous path, the Holy Land, does not have many restrictions. As soon as these words came out, Suliang immediately understood, you mean, their goal is actually the Holy Land. When these words came out, even Suliang himself felt a little absurd. Who is it that has the courage to plot the Holy Land? Do they not want to live? Or are they really confident that they can achieve their goals? No matter what, the Holy Lord must know about this matter. This is the thought. Suliang turned around and left, heading to the Holy Land, intending to find the Holy Lord. Along the way, Suliang traveled unobstructed and no one stopped him. Although battles broke out one after another around the sanctuary, inside the sanctuary, everything was calm and extremely peaceful. Just for a moment, Suliang arrived at the Holy Land, on top of the towering mountain peak. However, Suliang just fell down, before he had time to find the Holy Lord. An unprecedented war suddenly broke out. A strong wave of air hit him, and he was caught off guard. Suliang hurriedly resisted, but he was almost pushed off the Holy Land. Fortunately, this wave of air was still within the range that Suliang could withstand. Otherwise, Suliang might be injured too. The real energy in his body surged rapidly, and it was difficult for Suhao to stand still. Only then did he have time to look up to the sky, where the battle was about to start. But I saw it. One of them is the elder sister, the Holy Lord. Opposite the Holy Lord, there was a strong man whose cultivation level seemed to be extremely close to hers. And look at the clothes on that strong man. This person turned out to be a righteous person, and even a person from the Holy Land. Even the people in the Holy Land rebelled? What exactly is going on? Who is driving all this behind the scenes? Suliang frowned, feeling a little weird. Unexpectedly, there are only some people who dare to plan the Holy Land of righteousness. Moreover, he even let him do it. Who is it that has such strength and mobilizes so many masters? What is their purpose? After thinking about it carefully, Suliang really had no clue. There are so few clues that there is no possibility of any inference. And this time, the battle in heaven continues. The Holy Lord is worthy of being the Holy Lord. Even though the enemy is one of the Holy Land's own people, their cultivation and strength are among the best in the world. But the Holy Master was able to deal with it alone, but he was still invincible. With just a few moves, he knocked his opponent to the ground. For a moment, it was impossible to get up again. Falling slowly from the sky, the Holy Lord's true energy condenses and presses on the opponent, suppressing it to death. Immediately. Then he asked indifferently, "Who are you and what do you want to do?" However, after being defeated by the Holy Master, his opponent was very happy. Not only did he not feel depressed at all, but he laughed loudly. "They say that your Holy Master's cultivation is the best in the world, but your ability to judge people is really bad some. Now that things have happened, you still don't know our identity." Hear this. The Holy Master had no intention of dealing with him at all. As the true energy slowly increased, people felt like the mountains were closing in on him, and the pressure became heavier and heavier. Puff. The man vomited out another mouthful of blood, and his expression became much more depressed. But even so. But he still smiled, regardless of the blood spilling from his mouth, and said with a smile, "Since you don't know, I will tell you, so why not? I am from the Abyss family." Abyss family. The Holy Master frowned slightly. Didn't the Abyss family disappear long ago? Outsiders only know this. How can you, the majestic Holy Lord of the Holy Land, be so simple? The man shook his head and laughed. "It's not like disappearing, I'll wait, it's just about lurking and acting in secret. Hundreds of years have passed, and we, the Abyss family, have still not forgotten our mission. No matter what, we must open the channel between the Abyss and the present world, so that the Abyss can return to the world." As soon as these words came out, even though the Holy Lord is so indifferent, he still frowns. Even Sul Yang, who was standing by, felt something was wrong. "Tell me, what on earth do you want to do?" The Holy Master directly took action and wanted to extract information. However, facing this severe pain, the man seemed to feel nothing. There was still that crazy smile on his face. "We and the Abyss family have been lurking and operating for hundreds of years just to cultivate spies who can really get close to high-level officials like you. Now, we finally succeeded, /. This time, it's our fight to the death. Whether we succeed or not, we'll see you in the underworld." The words end here. This man's breath gradually weakened. See this? A thought flashed through Sul Yang's mind like lightning. No, he is trying to delay time and distract you. And this? The Holy Lord also thought of it. Demon-suppressing dragon vein. The Holy Master said in a deep voice, "Only when the demon-suppressing dragon vein is damaged, the foreign land passage may be opened. And if the demon-suppressing dragon vein is destroyed, I am afraid that the foreign land will come again." They actually want to destroy the demon-suppressing dragon veins. Are these people all crazy? Sul Yang rubbed his eyebrows and said in disbelief. The demon-suppressing dragon vein is destroyed and the passage to the foreign land is opened. When the time comes, it will be a disaster that will sweep the entire world. No matter what their purpose is or what their thoughts are. Such a heartbreaking thing is really hard to understand. This is the Abyss family. The Holy Master shook his head and turned around to leave. "I'll set off now and go to the demon-suppressing dragon vein." "Say it." The figure of the Holy Lord suddenly twisted and disappeared immediately. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 474. When the next moment appears. We are already in the demon-suppressing dragon vein. However, the speed of the Holy Lord's arrival was already fast enough, but after all, his attention was distracted before, and now, it is still a step too late. The moment the Holy Lord arrived, then I saw it. Several figures shuttled through the demon-suppressing dragon veins, and then suddenly took action. "How dare you do this?" The Holy Master gave a soft drink and subconsciously took action. But she hasn't waited for her true energy to condense. Boom! Several roaring sounds suddenly erupted from the demon-suppressing dragon veins. That was the destruction of the demon-suppressing dragon veins by those from the Abyss family. Roar! There was a seemingly non-existent dragon roar, but there was still boundless pain in it. Volume 1 Chapter 443 The Abyss is turbulent, the tired queen. Immediately, under the gaze of the Holy Lord, the demon-suppressing dragon vein has been damaged. A corner of the long river barrier that separated the real world from foreign lands suddenly collapsed, revealing that little flaw. And then, the space fluctuated, and then a huge gap appeared in front of the Holy Lord. In the gap, there is a strong aura of evil, which is a symbol from the Abyss. The exotic passage is about to open. If this passage is really allowed to open, with the chaos in the Holy Land at the moment, I'm afraid there really won't be much resistance. Not to mention, after the fall of the Holy Land, the entire world was devastated. No, we must not let the foreign channel open. This is the thought. The Holy Master took a deep breath and slowly came to this foreign passage. Even she couldn't immediately restore the damaged dragon veins to their original state. But, at least, she can use her own power to suppress this foreign passage. After brewing for a while, the Holy Lord suddenly took action, striking the foreign passage with powerful force. He actually used his own strength and energy to suppress this passage with all his strength. And at the same time, just when the foreign passage appeared, there is already turmoil in the abyss. In the abyss. At this moment, because of the appearance of the foreign passage, the entire abyss was in turmoil, and there was a feeling of vibration from time to time. In front of the Queen of the Abyss. Your Majesty, a passage has appeared. Someone below requested orders to attack the passage and enter the real world. An abyssal creature knelt down in front of the Queen of the Abyss and begged. We'll talk about it later. The Queen of the Abyss waved her hand and refused. And when this person goes down. But another creature from the abyss came, Your Majesty, there are already people gathering at the passage, planning to sneak into the real world. Anyone who approaches the passage at will be killed without mercy. The Queen of the Abyss's voice was cold and merciless. And then, many people came to report again, all about the opening of the passage. For a while, in the abyss, people's hearts are floating and turbulent. Even the Queen of the Abyss cannot suppress all the voices. After driving everyone out, the Queen of the Abyss sat alone on the throne, frowning attentively, thinking to herself. There was even more suspicion flashing in her eyes. This variable finally appeared. The war that was going to happen eventually was brought forward a lot because of the inexplicable appearance of this passage. But who is driving all this behind the scenes? And just then, Your Majesty, something serious has happened. An abyssal creature suddenly ran in from outside the door, looking a little panicked. It's the Heavenly Evil King, the Heavenly Evil King is here. Why are you panicking? It's just the Evil King. How dare he do anything with me here? The Queen of the Abyss scolded, but then she frowned slightly. The Evil King actually came to me at this time, he was really an uninvited guest. Anyway, let's see what he wants to do. After letting her men retreat, the Queen of the Abyss notified the outside again. Soon. Then the Evil King walked in. King Tianzai, why are you here now? The Queen of the Abyss sits on a high throne, majestic and cold. Now that the passage has appeared, why don't you send troops to the world? The Evil King was equally unceremonious and asked directly. What do you do alone, and why do you talk so much? The Queen of the Abyss responded coldly. Oh, according to my opinion, you don't want to do this at all, right? The Heavenly Evil King seemed to laugh sarcastically, but then he changed the topic and said, since you don't want to do it, then you just get out of the way and I send troops to the world for you, how about it? When he said this, he actually wanted to replace him and send troops to the world himself. Hear this. The Queen of the Abyss's expression immediately turned as cold as ice. You are alone here, how can you speak? Why, I just want to help you. Since it's something you don't want to do, I'll do it for you. Wouldn't everyone be happy? The Evil King was not afraid of the Queen of the Abyss's coldness at all. He just laughed and said, you occupy this borderland, but you don't do anything. Why, do you really think that your strength can suppress all of us, yet? You think too highly of yourself, don't you? At least, you are not qualified to say such things to me. The Queen of the Abyss said. He took action suddenly. The powerful strength actually caused the entire palace to shake and almost collapse. And faced the attack of the Queen of the Abyss. However, the King of Heavenly Evil was not afraid and immediately fought back, his strength was equally powerful. As soon as the two of them fought, the palace showed a shaky trend. However, after all, The evil king still thinks too highly of himself and underestimates the Queen of the Abyss. The war just started. Just a few moves. The evil king was knocked to the ground by the Queen of the Abyss and could not get up again. This is a complete crushing. Get out of here before Gu wants to kill you. The Queen of the Abyss's voice was as cold as ice, with murderous intent. She might really want to kill the evil king. But after all, the evil king is the king, and even she cannot be killed at will. Well, you are awesome. The evil king struggled to get up, his expression gloomy and very dissatisfied. Now, the Abyss Council will be restarted, and at that time, their respective ownership rights will be redrawn. I would like to see how long you can occupy this border. Oh, you should know how many people are dissatisfied with your actions over the years, right? But facing the evil king seemed like a threat. The Queen of the Abyss's response was just a simple word, get out. The evil king didn't care, he just laughed twice, turned around and left. I will come back again. When the time comes, let's see how arrogant you are. The Queen of the Abyss kept staring at the back of the evil king, holding her jade hands tightly, but then she let go. After all, the heavenly evil king has a very high status and cannot be killed at will. If you really wait for the Abyss Council to restart, what will you do when the time comes? I'm afraid I can't protect this border area, right? The Queen of the Abyss thought to herself and suddenly sighed. Today, the entire Abyss is divided into 9 regions, collectively called the 9 Abyss Realms. The Queen of the Abyss has monopolized the border zone for many years. When she was entrenched in the border area, she had always prohibited the other 8 regions from getting involved, which undoubtedly made the people of the other 8 regions very dissatisfied. And my villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 475. Under the guard of the Queen of the Abyss. It seems that creatures from the Abyss often invade the world. But every time, it's just a small fight, just a few Abyss creatures appear. As long as there are masters in the world, they can be destroyed quickly. This looks like. But it's more like sticking to the border. Naturally, this makes others even more dissatisfied. In normal times, people from the other 8 realms would not find a reason to deal with the Queen of the Abyss. But now, the passage appears, and the biggest obstacle to the human world no longer exists. The only thing left is the Queen of the Abyss, who guards the border and prevents others from taking action, and does not take action herself. It is conceivable that people from the other 8 regions will definitely try their best to deal with her. But in the entire Abyss, she was the only one struggling to hold on. This is the thought. The Queen of the Abyss sat back down again, feeling waves of exhaustion coming over her. According to the current situation. In the past, I had promised and kept the agreement so far. How long can I keep it? The Queen of the Abyss doesn't even know it. At the same time, Sul Yang, who was in the Holy Land, suddenly felt a palpitation in his heart. Subconsciously grasp the position of your heart, close your eyes, and feel it carefully. Suddenly, Sul Yang seemed to have a sense of resonance. This feeling is very strange, as if someone needs me. But who he is and what he needs to do, Sul Yang has no idea. And after closing his eyes and feeling his own strength, Sul Yang calmly shook his head. At this time, his realm has reached the 8th level of Immortality Realm. It looks indeed very powerful. Throwing it outside, it would be a peerless powerful person, and he could fly anywhere in the world. But in this situation, there are many transcendental realms, and the Immortality Realm is even more common. Many immortals will die every moment. Not enough, this strength is still not enough. Only by transcending the realm can real combat power be formed. It's not enough to be as powerful as someone who is transcendent. What Sul Yang wants is for him to truly achieve transcendence. But after all, the improvement of cultivation strength cannot be rushed. Although he has now reached the 8th level of the immortality realm, he is already extremely close to the transcendence realm. But after all, there is still some distance. And it is during this distance that the improvement of cultivation, understanding, and accumulation are all indispensable, and they cannot be improved immediately. So, Suliang took a deep breath and suppressed his restless heart. When it came to improving his cultivation level, he couldn't be impatient. The more impatient he was, the less likely he was to improve. Maybe it will cause serious consequences. As for now, Suliang just needs to focus on the things in front of him. Come to your senses. Suliang looked to his side. Because of the previous battle, there was some damage in the Holy Land. Fortunately, there are not many, and there are many masters in the Holy Land, so they can be repaired quickly. Look into the distance again. The fighting around the Holy Mountain seems to have stopped. I just don't know whether my wife and others killed all the betrayers, or whether they achieved their goal and retreated. As for the Holy Lord, Suliang still remembered that according to what the Holy Master said, the target of those abyssal families was the demon-suppressing dragon vein. Just now, there was a turmoil in the demon-suppressing dragon vein. Suliang, who was recognized by dragon vein, felt the faint and pitiful dragon roar clearly. Could it be that something happened? Otherwise, with the Holy Lord's strength, why hasn't he come back yet? No. Gotta check it out. This is the thought. Suliang immediately set off and headed towards the direction of the demon-suppressing dragon vein. As soon as he entered the demon-suppressing dragon vein, Suliang's face darkened. Sure enough, did those abyssal families succeed? That's what Suliang sensed. In the demon-suppressing dragon vein, there are all damaged places. Although they are not serious, together they are a kind of damage to the demon-suppressing dragon vein. And most importantly, with these damages, the effectiveness of the demon-suppressing dragon vein in suppressing foreign lands will be greatly weakened, and there may even be a possibility of the birth of a foreign land passage. This is a major event in the world. Subconsciously, Suliang looked at the long river barrier. Really? One corner of the vast and majestic river barrier has collapsed. And in the collapse, a space passage had been opened, exuding an evil aura from the abyss. It makes people feel very uncomfortable. And before the foreign passage and the collapsed corner. But there is the shadow of the Holy Lord, here, trying to maintain the integrity of the long river barrier. But even so. However, it is difficult to eliminate all hidden dangers. Holy Lord. Suliang hurriedly responded, looking at the corner of the long river barrier that collapsed, a little solemnly, what is going on? The goal of the Abyss family is indeed to destroy the demon-suppressing dragon vein and open the passage to foreign lands. The Holy Master's voice was a little low. They may also know that with their power, it is impossible to completely destroy the entire demon-suppressing dragon vein. Therefore, they set their goal on destroying the corner of the demon-suppressing dragon vein. It is precisely because of this that I did not discover their conspiracy immediately. In addition, the betrayal of people inside the Holy Land, after a big battle, allowed that person to delay. In short, the Holy Lord came a step too late. Then, what should we do? Suliang frowned. Do you need me to inform the Holy Land to prepare for the arrival of the Abyss? Suliang has dealt with abyssal creatures more than once, so he naturally knows what abyssal creatures are. If the passage to the foreign land is really opened, the abyssal creatures can enter the real world. I am afraid that the entire world is about to face a disaster. And the Holy Land here is the first to bear the brunt. If we are not prepared in advance, even if there are many experts in the Holy Land and they are powerful, they may not be able to resist it. That's too late. The Holy Lord shook his head, and then changed the subject. What's more, there is no need for this. Hear this. Suliang raised his brows and became happy. So, does the Holy Master have any other solution? The Holy Master nodded and glanced at the foreign passage in front of him. Here, I can barely fill the vacancy for the time being. Although the foreign passage has appeared, as long as I am around, it is not that easy for the abyss creatures to completely open the passage. But if that's all it is, it's still not enough. These words made Suliang nodded to express his understanding. No matter how powerful the Holy Lord is, he is only one person. There are limits. With her profound cultivation, she might be able to barely resist here for a while. But if this continues, she will eventually be unable to hold on. When her cultivation is exhausted, the passage will open and the abyss will invade. Not to mention, there are many masters on the other side of the abyss. As far as Suliang knew, there was a queen of the abyss, and there were not many others as powerful as her. With them attacking the passage over there, the Holy Master alone cannot resist for long. So, we still need to find a way to fill this corner as soon as possible. The Holy Lord said calmly. Does the Holy Master have a way to complete it? Suliang asked subconsciously. This was the second time he came to suppress the demon dragon vein. Although he already resonated with the dragon vein, Suliang didn't know how to repair it. Volume 1 Chapter 444, Repairing the Demon-Suppressing Dragon Vein. Of course there is. The Holy Master nodded, but, I am here and have already gone out. You need to find a way to collect these things. Why, Holy Master, don't you use the power of the Holy Land? Suliang was a little confused. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 476. Logically speaking, if you want to find treasures in the Holy Land of Uprightness, you should be faster than yourself, right? This outbreak of chaos has proven that there are many people from the Abyss family lurking in the righteous path. The Holy Master shook his head. How do you want me to trust them? At this time, Suliang was speechless. Really? The Abyss family has been lurking for hundreds of years, and even the Holy Master can no longer tell who can be trusted and who cannot. Then, Suliang nodded and said, please ask the Holy Master for instructions. If you need anything, this junior can come to you. Listen. The Holy Master thought for a while and said, the repairing materials are available in many Holy Land treasure troves. You can just take them directly, but the small part that is left is extremely rare. There are only a few of them that have been treasured by the Holy Land for countless years, and they are all still in use, so you have to go find them yourself. Among them, water without roots, boundless soil, invisible gold, wood without soil, and fire without fuel are relatively easy to find. And the most important thing is that the essence of destiny is condensed. It is very rare. Even in the Holy Land, it has never been found. Listening to the series of names being announced, Suliang slowly opened his mouth. What are these things? I haven't heard of many of them. And the few that have heard of it are all legendary. If you want to look for it, there's nowhere to start. This level of difficulty is simply incredible. And then, the Holy Master said, I can hold on for a few more days. You'd better find the things within a few days. Find something so rare in just a few days? This is too urgent. It is simply an impossible task. This moment, Suliang was completely confused. When leaving from the demon-suppressing dragon vein and the Holy Master, Suliang was still a little confused. So many rare things, even many that have never been heard of. How to find it? I have no clue at all. And many still have to be found within a few days. Isn't this difficult? Is it possible to do this kind of thing? Especially the thing that condenses the essence of destiny, is it possible to exist? And this is actually the most critical and indispensable. How should I start with this? Suliang has always had a clear understanding of himself. He didn't believe that he could find something that even the Holy Land could not accumulate for countless years in a few days. Yes, what confused Suliang the most was within these few days. If the time is longer, even half a year or a year, Suliang will be confident. But for a few days, even if you don't sleep, you may not be able to do it, right? But unfortunately, this cannot be found, even if it is for the sake of my own ladies, I have to find it. After all, if the passage really opens and the abyss invades, with the cultivation of my master and ladies, they will definitely be the ones at the front. All the way back to the place where he was temporarily staying in confusion, Suliang felt a little dazed even when he saw his wives, and his heart was filled with those precious materials. Suliang. Qin Benjao looked at her husband in confusion, couldn't help but stretched out her hand, took her husband and shook her. What's wrong with you? Suliang was stunned for a moment, then came back to his senses. Are you guys okay? While talking, his eyes swept over the girls. Seeing that all the girls were in full spirits and didn't look the least bit embarrassed, they breathed a sigh of relief. What can happen to us? How can those people be our opponents? Qin Benjao said proudly, and then looked at her boyfriend with concern. Suliang, what's wrong with you? Why do you look so distracted? He smiled bitterly and shook his head. Suliang sat aside and slowly told what happened in the Holy Land. At last. Then he said, these materials are urgently needed. The Holy Spirit asked me to find them all within a few days. However, most of them are things I have never heard of. How can I find them? Especially the thing that condenses the essence of luck. This thing is too abstract and there is no way to find it. Do you have any ideas? Hear this. All the girls fell silent, thinking seriously. After a long time, Wan Qing finally spoke up and said, this matter is of great importance. If you are alone, you will definitely not be able to find it. Why don't we search for it together? Master, do you have any clues? Suliang was stunned and asked subconsciously. There are some ideas, some of those you mentioned, I've heard of them. Wan Qing nodded, although it's not in my hands, maybe I can find it for you. After saying that, Wan Qing stood up and looked at Jing Meng. Meng, let's each go back to our sect and use our sect's power to search for him. I remember that there are 2 sects among them, each majoring in water and wood magical powers. Maybe they have them there. At that time, we will come to the door one by one. This matter is very important, and we don't care about courtesy. If they refuse, we will just take action. Good. Jing Meng didn't waste any time, stood up directly and followed Jing Meng away. Tan Kinja also stood up. Don't worry, Yang. I'll go back to the Tan family to have a look. The Tan family has a lot of connections, so I will definitely find him. Immediately. Then he looked at Qin Benjao. Benjao, do you want to follow my master? Qin Benjao shook her head. Master, I plan to go back to the section. Our Tiandao sect's business channels are almost all over the world. It's easier to find something. Perhaps, you can also find another teacher of mine to find out more? So, very good. Tan Kinja thought for a moment and nodded. Although Qin Benjao is only the disciple of the sect master now, she has a high status within the sect. And her cultivation strength is already the strongest in the Tiandao sect, except for Tan Kinja and Suliang. Even those elders and others would not dare to embarrass her because they do not have the strength. Not to mention, no one would embarrass her. It would be most appropriate for her to go back. Said. The 2 of them also walked out of the door, dispersed, and headed for their destinations. And this time, Mu Qingqian and Tao Yaoyao also stood up. Mu Qingqian said, I'm going to ask the Holy Sun. With the prestige of the Holy Sun and I among the geniuses of various sects, we might be able to get them to take action. Tianjiao is definitely not as good as the sect leaders of various sections. He is young, and energetic, and not so scheming. Perhaps, for the sake of the so-called righteousness of the world, he will really help? Volume 1 Chapter 445, The Queen Warned by Time, The Incarnation of Disaster. Tao Yaoyao also said, I also went home once. After telling my mother what happened, I went to find the master. With the combined prestige of master and mother, even the demon lord must pay attention to it. Brother Sul Yang, just wait for my good news. Although what was being repaired this time was something belonging to the holy land of righteous path. But after all, the foreign passage has a bearing on the world, and Sul Yang is also involved. Whether it is the demon sect family or the Yin Yang Dao sect, they will naturally not sit idly by. After speaking, the two of them walked out side by side. Then, less than a moment, everyone acted separately, each with his or her own approach to the materials Sul Yang needed. Each one of them turned out to be quite reliable. Sul Yang felt that with such power, perhaps it would not be too difficult to find those materials. This is what is called strength in numbers, right? No hesitation. Sul Yang also stood up and went to the Holy Land. Although the rest of the materials are in the Holy Land's treasury, someone has to come up with them after all. This is also a very important thing. Not long after the girls left, the two sects of the righteous path, Fukang Dao sect and Taixuan sect, simultaneously announced the search for treasures such as rootless water. The two sect masters, Wan Qing and Jing Meng, also went to the other two sects, seemingly begging for some treasures, and ended up having a big fight. One has mastered mystical skills, while the other is panic-stricken in swordsmanship and returns with a great victory. The Zongtutan family also announced the search for the same treasure. As the largest silk stocking in the world, Tiandao sect, which serves the production and distributes sex, actually spreads the news and buys the same treasures at will, and the price given is quite exciting. It attracted the attention and actions of countless merchant dynasties. The geniuses of various sects also joined the search for the treasure under the joint declaration of the righteous sun and the goddess. Some fools even secretly went to their own sect's treasure house. Even the devil. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 477. The demon sect family and the Yin Yang Dao sect jointly took action, and the news spread widely. The price paid to find these treasures was extremely high. In an instant, it attracted a group of profit-seeking demons. Even compared with the righteous way, the momentum is even more powerful. This moment, because of the Abyss family's actions and Sul Yang's embarrassment, almost the entire world is about to be mobilized. Just 2 days. Sul Yang had already collected all the items in the treasure house and returned to his temporary residence. Left over. Just waiting for the return of my girlfriends. Hopefully, there's enough time. Sul Yang counted the materials in front of him and sighed. But I was thinking in my heart, should I go and help my ladies? Although the ladies in my family each have their own methods, and they all seem to be very reliable. But the things I want to collect are also extremely rare. Maybe it will take a lot of trouble? This is the thought. Sul Yang stood up immediately, planning to go back to the sect first. But right now, Sulang, I'm back. Qin Benjao walked in happily and raised the jade box in her hand. I found the rootless water. Actually found it? Sul Yang was stunned for a moment, and then he became excited. Although he only found a treasure, it was beyond his expectation that something like this, which was almost legendary, could produce such results in 2 days. How did you find it? Sul Yang asked curiously. Our sex business has now spread all over the world. Countless merchant dynasties and even large sects have cooperated with us. Qin Benjao chuckled, I activated our business channels and offered huge rewards to look for them. Naturally, I can find some. Although the price is a bit high, it has provided our sect with enough income for 2 months. Hear this? Suliang nodded. Indeed, if you can mobilize many large chambers of commerce and auction houses in the world to search for things, no matter how rare they are, you can always find them. As for the income for 2 months, judging from the current income of Tiandao sect, this is indeed an astronomical figure. But as long as you can find something, everything is easy. And this time, Tan Kinja also hurried back, perhaps because she was a little tired from traveling quickly. She walked forward and hugged Suliang. After resting for a while, Tan Kinja smiled and said, after I returned home, my mother promised happily and said she would fully support us. All the power of the Tan family has been activated. Fortunately, I have found the invisible gold. In this way, there are 2 types. Suliang became even more excited, and without caring much, he kissed her heavily. Qin Benjao, who was watching on the sidelines, was a little dissatisfied, I found it too, and I want it too. But before Suliang could answer, Wan Qing's voice suddenly rang out, little girl, get in line. Said. Wan Qing and Jing Meng walked in and threw a small box to Suliang, Meng, and I went to fight with the 2 Taoist masters of the Shang zone. Unfortunately, the rootless water was used by that person, and only this Wu to it's a tree. Enough, that's enough. Suliang nodded quickly, so there were already 3 kinds. And immediately, Mu Qingqian and Tao Yaoyao walked in at the same time. Senior brother Su, fortunately you have lived up to your fate. Mu Qingqian smiled happily and handed a small box to Suliang, this is the boundless land. I got it after the Holy Sun and I searched for the geniuses of various sections. It is said that she stole it from the sect's treasure house. It was originally used by her master for training. The reason why people are like this is all because of their feelings towards senior brother Su. At this point, Suliang quickly interrupted, ahem, Qingqian, you did a great job. Don't say any more, or something will happen. Immediately afterwards, Tao Yaoyao also said happily, this is the unpaid fire. Senior sister Qin brought it to me. Wan Yu actually took action too. Suliang smiled slightly and rubbed Tao Yaoyao's little head, well done. Hey, brother Suliang, just be happy. Tao Yaoyao was cute and well behaved. She didn't look like a witch in front of Suliang. Available immediately. Suliang sighed, in this case, there is only one thing left to condense the essence of luck. Where should I find this thing? For a moment, the girls had no clue about this. But at this moment, Qin Benjao raised her hand, before I came here, I went to Shengjing, and Sister Ying gave me this. Said. Qin Benjao took out a jade box again, and inside the jade box was a lifelike golden dragon. On it, there is a strong breath of luck. You actually found it? Suliang was extremely surprised. It's all thanks to Sister Ying. This is also a surprise for you. Qin Benjao giggled. My ladies are really reliable. Suliang sighed. In the demon-suppressing dragon vein, Suliang came to the Holy Master with a bunch of collected materials. Junior has already collected all the materials requested by the Holy Master. Just 2 days. The Holy Lord was slightly confused, but he didn't say anything more. Reach out and make a move. The various materials collected by the girls, plus those that Suliang took from the treasure house, were all in her hands. Immediately, calcined by fireless fire, she added various materials, and finally, there was the little golden dragon. Roar. A dragon roar sounded, and the beings refined from various materials were thrown by the Holy Lord on the missing corner of the long river barrier. Moment. It condensed into substance and was indistinguishable from the barrier of the long river. Call. The Holy Lord breathed a sigh of relief and stopped suppressing the foreign passage. In this way, we can barely make up for the long river barrier. The rest is just waiting for the dragon's veins to recover. That's good. Suliang also nodded, but then he became a little worried. It's just that such a simple repair, and the passages have been opened. Is this useful? It doesn't matter. Although the passage has been opened, repairing it like this can still form enough suppression force against the Abyss aliens. The Holy Lord shook his head. I need to go to practice. You, please send me back. Say it. The jade hand put on Suliang's shoulder. The Holy Master was obviously a little exhausted. In the room, Suliang placed the Holy Master on the bed. However, because of the Holy Lord's request, he still could not leave. He could only sit on the edge of the bed and hold the Holy Lord in his arms. The Holy Lord's beautiful eyes were slightly closed, and he pursed his red lips, showing a rare hint of fatigue. And at this moment, the beauty is in my arms, the fragrance is warm and soft, and under the pressure of the peak, it is soft and elastic, which makes people a little unable to withstand it. Suliang asked with concern, Holy Lord, are you okay? Just now, he was on his way back with the Holy Lord. Suliang accidentally discovered that the Holy Lord's body seemed to be particularly cold. And there is also a kind of hardness that is different from others. There isn't even much life left in it. This body is simply different from ordinary people. Your body? Suliang asked hesitantly. And to this, the Holy Lord didn't feel anything at all, and answered straightforwardly, my body at this time is just that of a doll. How can it be? Suliang was a little surprised. Not to mention how a normal person sends his consciousness into the doll. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 478. Is it really possible to make a doll that looks so similar to an ordinary person? This is also a helpless move. The Holy Lord shook his head. Thousands of years, the passage of time, the wear and tear on the wool is quite serious. Only in this way can we avoid it and maintain ourselves. Wear and tear? What is it that makes the Holy Master, who was a cultivator of profound knowledge and was considered invincible at the time, have to transform into a doll in order to avoid it and maintain himself? Suliang frowned slightly. His cultivation level has not yet reached that level, so he naturally does not know the key to it. But seeing the Holy Master looking a little pale and weak, Suliang also knew that he could not ask any more questions. Suppressing the foreign passages has already consumed the Holy Master's energy too much. At this moment, what she needs most is to have a good rest. As for the rest, it's better to wait until you have the opportunity to ask again. Then, Suliang placed the Holy Master on the bed. Immediately, he tucked her in again, as if the former king of humans was taking care of that little lowly. Subconsciously touching the Holy Master's hair, Suliang Gwen smiled and said, you have a good rest. I'll leave first. I'll see you again when I have time. As soon as these words came out, Suliang immediately woke up. The person in front of him is the Holy Lord of the Holy Land, but he is just a small disciple of the prodigy. Such behavior is really a bit excessive. Run quickly, run quickly. Then, Suliang quickly stood up and said, Junior, I'll take my leave first. Say it. He turned around and left without any hesitation. The Holy Lord, who was resting on the bed, had been staring at Suliang's back with his beautiful eyes. It wasn't until Suliang left that she turned her head, closed her eyes, and had a good rest. But not long after Suliang left, the Holy Lord suddenly opened his eyes and said in an indifferent voice, since you are here, then show up. Since you can't hide it from me, why bother to hide it? The words fell. But I saw it. In the room, the space was distorted. Immediately. It actually broke apart. Immediately afterwards. Then there was a white-haired figure stepping out from it. That stunning face, proud body, and lonely temperament are clearly the Lord of Yinghuo. As expected of the Holy Lord, I was able to be discovered by you even when I peeked into the space. The Lord of Yinghuo seemed to be strolling in the courtyard, facing the Holy Lord whose cultivation was arrogant in the world, but he did not feel the slightest fear. What you up to? The Holy Lord did not talk nonsense with the Lord of Yinghuo and asked directly. I'm here to free you. The Lord of Yinghuo's tone was relaxed but serious. Just you? The Holy Lord asked back, his tone still indifferent, as if the matter had nothing to do with him. Even though she is now losing her mental strength because she clings to the seal and suppresses the passage, she is the Holy Lord after all, and no one can match this world-leading cultivation strength. However, faced with the Holy Lord's question, the Lord of Yinghuo did not explain anything. Instead, he said with the same indifference, as a Holy Lord, my time on earth cannot be estimated, but this wear and tear has been with you for thousands of years. Now you have reached the critical point. Even if you are in the body of a doll, you can't hold it anymore, right? So what? The Holy Lord asked back. For the Lord of Yinghuo to be able to tell her situation very accurately, she didn't feel much shock or panic. Or, for her, emotions like shock and panic cannot exist on a doll. Not really. The Lord of Yinghuo shook his head. Why don't you let me help you lift the shackles that have been bound to you? You dare. The Holy Lord stood up suddenly, his face remained indifferent, but a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. Help her untie her? With just one sentence, the purpose of the Lord of Yinghuo was already obvious. How could the Holy Lord allow it? You may be in your prime, so maybe I have to stay away from the edge for a while. The Lord of Yinghuo shook her head, her true energy circulated, and the power of time and space flickered in her body, but now, you have lost too much to suppress the foreign passage, and you are no longer my opponent. You can give it a try. The Holy Lord said, the coldness in his eyes getting more intense. And when the Holy Lord said these words, the atmosphere between the two suddenly fell silent. Immediately, a shocking battle suddenly broke out in this room. The Lord of Yinghuo uses the power of time and space, which is unpredictable and powerful. Rao Shizheng, a master of Tongxian, was extremely powerful, but for a while, he couldn't do anything against the Lord of Yinghuo. Even getting close is a bit difficult. It's not that the Holy Lord is not as powerful as the Lord of Yinghuo. If it were the Holy Lord in his prime state, even though it would be a big battle, it would be the Holy Lord who would win in the end. But now the Holy Lord, due to her previous efforts to stick to the seal and suppress the foreign channels, she spent too much of her mental energy. It can be said that the loss of strength is huge. And just this moment of rest was not enough for her to recover. With a cultivation level like hers, the recovery speed is indeed too fast to predict, but the amount that needs to be recovered is too huge, which takes a lot of time. Already exhausted, it was only expected that a battle would be unsustainable and that he would be at a disadvantage. Then, only a few moments of fighting passed. The Holy Lord's true energy could not be sustained, and for a moment he was cruel and in a daze. He was defeated by the Lord of Yinghuo and was captured by the Lord of Yinghuo. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you. The Lord of Yinghuo used the power of space to imprison the Holy Lord in front of him. Immediately, he walked towards the Holy Lord slowly, step by step. Do you know what the consequences will be if you do this? The Holy Lord looked at the Lord of Yinghuo coldly and asked. Of course, actually, I know better than you. Otherwise, why do you think I would come to you? The Lord of Yinghuo nodded slightly. Next moment, but without hesitation, his fingers gently touched the forehead of the Lord of Yinghuo. Moment. A powerful force penetrated directly into the body of the doll. He immediately found the soul that belonged to the Holy Lord supporting this body. The power came into play quickly, and in just the blink of an eye, the soul of the Lord of Yinghuo was imprisoned and imprisoned. This time, this doll body has lost its user. Just like a real doll, this body, under the loss of the power of the Lord of Yinghuo, lay on the ground, motionless. Those godless eyes looked up at the sky, completely losing their soul. After losing its user, will the doll just become silent, or? The eerie and elusive voice echoed over the ruined room. When he looked again, the figure of Lord Yinghuo had disappeared. In ruins. Only the puppet body of the Holy Lord was left, lying on the ground, looking at the sky with his eyes blankly. The soul was imprisoned, leaving only a body. But gradually, in this body, a new consciousness seemed to be born. That is a new consciousness born from the aggregation of negative emotions. The fingers moved slightly. An inexplicable force seeped out of the body and enveloped it. Let this godless body stand up slowly. The closed eyes opened. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 479. The indifference and calmness of the past were completely gone. What replaced it was a deeper indifference and destruction. I am the will of God. The puppet spat out a few words with difficulty. This moment, the body that used to carry the Holy Lord's soul went completely berserk. The Lord of the Holy Land became the incarnation of disaster. Volume 1 Chapter 446 The mind is like the world, the self-enclosed true self. I am the Holy Lord. I want to protect the Holy Land and the world. No, no, that was me before. In the darkness, a hazy consciousness was born, muttering to itself. Even though it has just been born, this consciousness contains all the negative emotions, which is daunting. And this time, the darkness gradually receded, and scenes of the Holy Lord guarding the Holy Land for thousands of years appeared in front of this new consciousness. After thousands of years of guarding, it can be said that they have devoted all their efforts, regardless of the cost. But in this world, there were still not many disputes, and there were still all kinds of conspiracy and bloody massacres. Especially people like the Abyss family. Killed repeatedly, but reappeared again and again. It is clear that the other party is a bloody and evil Abyss creature that covets reality. But there are still people who are trying to open a passage from foreign lands to the real world. Doing so, what's the point of this protection? No, what this world needs is not protection, but perish. Only death is the real protection. Only death is the real eternity. During the 1,000 years of guarding, this consciousness came to this conclusion. Eyes open. A smile suddenly appeared on the face that was as stiff as a doll. So, it's time to destroy. Muttering to himself, the new Holy Lord occupying this body flew up. In the city. When Suliang returned here, it was his ladies who came forward. My dear disciple, how is the situation in the demon-suppressing dragon vein? Wanqing asked anxiously. Wanqing naturally knows how important the demon-suppressing dragon vein is. This kind of place that can suppress and isolate reality and foreign lands absolutely does not allow any mistakes. The Holy Master has taken action and filled in all the materials. Now, the dragon veins have stabilized and are being repaired. Suliang smiled and said, the Holy Master is a little weak and has gone back to rest. Don't worry. Hear this. All the girls breathed a sigh of relief. Just be fine. As for the cost of finding materials, no one took it to heart. This matter is not only for the common people in the world, but also for themselves and their favorite. If the passage is opened and the abyss enters the world, not even them, not even Sul Yang, may be safe. Not to mention, there is a queen of the abyss among them. It's just a little money price, but they think it's worth it in exchange for the safety of their men. But right now, boom! Another roaring and exploding sound appeared in the holy mountain. In this breath, with an unparalleled aura, the sudden burst of cultivation actually put Wan Qing under a lot of pressure. How is this going? Tan Qingja immediately frowned. Just in that breath, she actually felt a tremor. Invincible. He is definitely no match. But it is different from Tan Qingja. Wan Qing felt many negative auras in that aura. This kind of existence where many negative emotions are gathered together is simply not what the right path can possess. But Sul Yang was the only one who felt something familiar from this aura. Holy Lord. Wrong. Sul Yang then shook his head. Although there is something wrong with the Holy Master's body, his cultivation aura is pure and righteous. It definitely doesn't feel like this. But, at least, it is related to the Holy Lord. Are you sure? Wan Qing immediately became serious. If it was really the Holy Lord, she didn't even know if she was his opponent. That should be the case. Let's go take a look. Sul Yang nodded solemnly. Immediately. Then he flew out with Wan Qing and others. And at this moment, in the holy mountain, the Holy Lord, who was already wrapped in a negative aura, was holding a long sword, but he had turned black and went berserk, unleashing his power unscrupulously and wreaking havoc. In front of the invincible Holy Lord at that time. Even if the Supreme Elder from the Holy Land came, he could not withstand a few moves from the Holy Lord and was knocked down. He vomited blood and was seriously injured. And at the moment Sul Yang and others appeared, the Holy Lord put aside all the enemies in front of him and looked in this direction. You. The Holy Lord murmured. Even when he looked at Sul Yang, there was no less indifference and destruction in his eyes. Lost. Wan Qing frowned, feeling that something was wrong. Next moment, the figure of the Holy Lord suddenly appeared in front of everyone, and the sword in his hand slashed towards Sul Yang. Destroy. With a slight shout, the Holy Master actually took action with all his strength. The majestic flow of true energy made Sul Yang unable to even move. This is an absolute crushing of cultivation. Don't even think about it. Jing Meng also shouted softly, and took the sword with a brilliant swordsmanship. However, he took a few steps back and felt a tight pain in his chest. It was obvious that he had been seriously injured. Get away. Wan Qing also gave a soft drink and fought with the Holy Master. For a moment, the two of them were indifferent. But the Holy Lord, who was in a blackened and violent state, used all his strength to attack, without caring about the consequences and costs. His strength was much stronger than before. Even Wan Qing can't stand it for long. And once Wan Qing and Jing Meng are defeated, how can Sul Yang and others be the opponents of the Holy Lord? At this moment, it is already a fatal crisis for everyone. My dear disciple, the Holy Master has lost his mind and may have been sealed into the world of mental images. While resisting, Wan Qing shouted to Sul Yang, you find a way to get into the world of hearts, and we'll help you contain her outside. But Sul Yang was a little hesitant. The Holy Lord was so powerful now, how long could his master hold him back? Go quickly, time is running out. Even if you stay outside, you won't be of much use. Wan Qing shouted anxiously. After hearing this, Sul Yang nodded. Indeed, it would not be of much use if he stayed outside. Instead, he would become a burden to his master and Jing Meng. It would be better to enter the world of mental imagery and find a way to awaken the Holy Lord. This is the thought. Sul Yang immediately retreated and found a temporarily safe place. Immediately, sitting down cross-legged, Sul Yang slowly entered the world of mental imagery as his mind was immersed. However, just entered. There were countless thunderbolts that transformed from the sky and fell towards Suliang. "Get away!" Suliang shouted softly and punched forward, but it only shattered a few thunderclouds and could not do anything to the thunderclouds. It seems that he can only pass this level by force. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 480. I didn't expect that as soon as I arrived here, I would encounter a test. Suliang frowned. "Don't you want me to find the Holy Master?" "Oh, can a mere thunderstorm stop me?" And just then. However, the thunder condensed in front and kept falling down. The density was so amazing that it actually formed a thunderstorm. If he entered it, even Suliang would be a little reluctant. But wait for me, Suliang whispered to himself. In his mind, he recalled the scenes between him and his eldest sister. Treat wounds, reward chest tightness, wipe body. At the end, the scene was fixed on the scene where the human king held the little lowly in his arms in the wind and snow. "Wait for me, I'll come find you soon." Without hesitation, Suliang ran directly into the thunderstorm. Thunderstorms raged, and thunder fell one after another, rushing towards Suliang. But Suliang relied on a pair of fists, and every punch he punched was like a sword. Under the sword light, not a single thunderbolt could fall on Suliang. That's it. A moment later, Suliang had already passed through the range of the thunderstorm. But then, a thunderstorm appeared and disappeared immediately. Instead, but there was a heavy rain, and Suliang was soaked in an instant. This heavy rain seemed to be the same as ordinary heavy rains, without any power, so Suliang ignored it. But when the heavy rain fell on me, a sudden change occurred. A feeling of fatigue suddenly appeared on Suliang. There seemed to be a mysterious force in the heavy rain that kept whispering and bewitching Suliang. It would be great if Suliang could give up resistance and practice, just lie down and watch the clouds relax. This feeling was like a weed. As soon as it appeared, it spread in Suliang's mind and could not be stopped. But if we really give up resistance here and lie down, how can we survive? Pretending to be a ghost. Suliang snorted lightly, ignoring this feeling and strode forward. Suliang has seen too many things along the way, and his Taoist heart has long been as hard as iron. How could he be so bewitched? Then, a breeze. Suliang walked out of the heavy rain. Can be followed immediately. Countless negative emotions surged over, trying to engulf Suliang. Death, tyranny, cruelty, cunning, fear. All kinds of emotions emerged, competing with each other, and coming fiercely, threatening to assimilate Suliang inside. This is not enough. Suliang didn't even stop, he just shook his head. Just ignore the emergence of these negative emotions. Such tricks were not enough to affect Suliang. Walked for a while. Finally, Suliang got out of these negative emotions. It suddenly becomes clear before my eyes. Suliang finally saw the Holy Lord trapped in this endless darkness. Although the Holy Lord at this moment had his eyes open, there was no trace of energy in them. Not only that, there seemed to be layers of chains wrapped around her body, imprisoning her here, unable to escape, and unwilling to escape. Holy Lord. Suliang stepped forward and called the Holy Lord softly. And as the sound rang out, there was a gleam of light in Holy Lord Nwushan's eyes. But then, this light was swallowed up by the deeper darkness. See this. Suliang still didn't understand that she was closed off by this darkness. Oh no. Suliang frowned slightly. For a moment, he didn't know how to break the blockade of darkness and awaken the Holy Lord's mind. But at this moment, a ray of clear light suddenly flashed from the Holy Lord's body and penetrated the body. That clear light gradually condensed and took shape, just like another Holy Lord. Next moment, King Hui walked towards Suliang, entered Suliang's body, and appeared behind him again, but it was even more illusory. And Suliang's body also showed a layer of the same clear brilliance, shining with a faint light, protecting him. Is this a guardian spirit formed spontaneously? Suliang raised his eyebrows, a little surprised. But the next moment, he suddenly felt a wave of fluctuation, which made him unconsciously look towards the place where the Holy Lord was before. This time, Suliang was shocked. I saw. It seems to have lost that layer of clarity. At this moment, the Holy Lord's beautiful eyes were completely occupied by darkness. Immediately, the Holy Master stood up slowly, like a puppet being manipulated. The layers of chains on her body all transformed into pitch-black armor, covering her proud and exquisite body. As the armor condenses, a powerful wave of energy erupted from her body. Holy Lord! Suliang tried to shout, but did not get any response, which made Suliang's heart suddenly sink. Things seemed to be going bad. Really? Next moment, the Holy Lord suddenly took action and punched Suliang. Boom! There was a muffled sound, and Suliang hurriedly resisted, but he was not as powerful as the Holy Lord after all, and was sent flying far away by the punch. After landing on the ground, Suliang immediately stood up and looked at the Holy Master in front of him solemnly. At this moment, he felt that his hands were no longer his. The difference in strength between him and the Holy Lord is too obvious. There is no comparison at all. But it's about your own life, your wife's life, and the lives of everyone in the world. Suliang could not help but fail. Even if the gap is huge, Suliang will never give up easily. Bring it on. Suliang gritted his teeth and stood up. As he mobilized his true energy, Minghai Giwen reappeared and transformed his sword energy. Countless sword energies suddenly floated around him, densely packed and spectacular. At the same time, the double destruction of heaven and earth was activated, condensed into a bullet-like existence, and appeared in Suliang's hand. Go! With a soft drink, the sword energy spread across the sky, destroying both heaven and earth unparalleled, and killed the Holy Lord. Available immediately. But with a simple palm from the Holy Lord, he was swept away. Immediately, the Holy Lord approached Suliang again and just slapped him casually. Then he knocked Suliang away, feeling like his whole body was falling apart. This is no match at all. Suliang spit out a mouthful of blood, barely supported himself, gritted his teeth, and looked at the Holy Lord who was approaching step by step. What to do, what to do? He had a hunch in his heart that if he waited for the Holy Lord to approach again, he might be cut down. And at this critical moment, in his mind, a new memory that was unsealed again appeared. That is the Holy Master who is making a doll body. But beside the Holy Lord, there is someone very familiar to Suliang. Qing Emperor. The body of a doll like yours is inherently amazing. Even if it can avoid wear and tear, it will eventually fail one day. Qing Emperor stood in front of the Holy Lord and shook his head. With all my abilities, I can only try my best to delay the arrival of this day for you. However, although this body is useful, the consequences will be serious. Have you really thought about it?